is part of a collection of interviews conducted by El Grupo Elron, a non-profit group dedicated to eradicating false concepts in all fields of knowledge through the teachings of the Ascended Masters of Light, by a medium, Jorge Raul Olguin. June 30th, 1997. Messages from the Archangel Gabriel. Who will communicate now?
I am Archangel Gabriel. I am going to act as a messenger once again. This disclosure will talk about Mary, the humble servant of the Father. The truth has been distorted so much about my beloved Mary, the mother of Jesus. Ah, Miriam. She was then a girl whom I had loved so much. When Yeshua incarnated, it was a tremendous pleasure to see her having the child on her lap. She gave her son a great spiritual wisdom and also material knowledge. She taught him how to fight against injustice. She taught him to have patience to the discredited ones. She transmitted him to have disdain for hypocrisy. When Jesus fought hand-to-hand his stepbrothers in the clever art of the sword and the spear, he took it as a game, strengthening his muscles. He never, because he did it with love. Jesus loved everybody. At the time at which he discussed in the temple with those doctors of law, teaching them the true interpretation of the Torah, the fool doctors were offended because they could not accept that a teenage boy could teach them. Oh, fools, fools. How patient had to be my Jesus. He bent his head and said to them, "Excuse me, gentlemen, if I have offended you." But within his spirit he said, "Idiots, stupids, they are never going to learn." Sometime later he went to study with the Essenes. But he was very opposed, particularly by a teacher of justice that was very selfish and did not want anyone to discredit him. He did not accept how Jesus was. That teacher of justice said that those who taught were not to be permissive, but rigid. They neither accepted the innovative ideas of the new disciple, because they believed in an imminent end of the world, where would be only saved those who retain an ascetic life. When that teacher disincarnated, a worse one replaced him. After that, poor Jesus stopped trying to change that community, so closed off to new ideas and left the site.
Did Joseph know the truth about the birth of Jesus, who he was?
Of course he knew.
And knew with certainty that he was not his son?
Yes, he knew it.
Did he also know that Jesus was the son of Mary and a Roman patrician?
I will tell you the truth. Mary married, being young of 15 years, with Herod Antipater, heir to the throne of Herod the Great. It was a secret wedding, where there were only a few witnesses. Mary and Herod loved each other with a love so spiritual, so great that their only desire was to give one another their whole beings. They loved with a love so exalted, that Mary, as it's said today, gave herself in body and soul.
Being a virgin.
Being a virgin.
Fulfilling, then, the prophecy.
That's right, she gave herself in body and soul to Herod Antipater. Then, he had to flee from the region because his father, physically and spiritually sick, was convinced that he wanted to take over his throne. So, he ordered to prosecute him for killing. Besides, Herod Antipater's brothers fought for this kingdom. Antipater was betrayed by men who apparently were at all reliable. They found out where he was taking refuge. He was trapped, locked in a dark dungeon and, a few days later, killed by order of his cruel father. Then, his brothers fought for the part of the inheritance left by this martyr. They were like hyenas, fighting for food.
Then, Herod Antipater did not commit suicide, as I read somewhere?
No, he did not commit suicide. They murdered him. Antipater did not know what selfishness was, and his feelings towards Mary were so great that he would have never committed suicide. But he had done the impossible to escape and find her, to flee and live together in an unknown place. How far was Antipater's father in understanding that his son was not interested in power, but in love? I understand that Antipater came to intuit, before his death, that his beloved was pregnant. He knew he had only little time to live, but prayed for Mary and asked for her well-being. he placed in front the safety of his loved one before his own. So great was his love for her. The intrigue continued, until 2 years later, when Herod the Great died and the kingdom of Palestine was divided among his children, who fought among themselves to get the crown of king. But the king, who was it in fact? It was the rightful child of Antipater, namely Jesus. He was never recognized. Anyway, my loved Yeshua did not care about this material kingdom. His mission was another and he has fulfilled it successfully. I want to emphasize the goodness of Joseph, who, knowing that this girl was pregnant, he accepted the child as his own. One of the directors of the temple, Simeon, knew it. And obviously he kept silent, so it was not only a secret of Joseph and Mary.
To what extent did Mary know that Jesus was the long-awaited Messiah?
Mary did not have much knowledge, but had a lot of wisdom which she used with her son. She knew that Jesus was a special being. Mary knew the Torah by heart. But she was a woman, and we know that at that time women were disregarded. Jewish customs used to mistreat women in general. I give an example: a farmer who finished eating a lamb leg and had his hands full of fat, called the eldest daughter and had his hand clean of fat in the long hair of the girl. It seems aberrant what I say, but it was real. Moreover, when the girl had grown up, her family looked for ways to get rid of her by trapping the first candidate who crossed to marry her. But the father of the boy, who was no fool, requested a compensation for taking the burden. After many discussions they agreed the price and arranged the wedding.
Did Mary have more children?
Yes, she had 3 sons with Joseph. In addition, Joseph had 3 sons from his previous marriage. She had a legitimate husband, and then after had a second husband, the good Joseph, who was also her tutor.
The Church wants to show the birth of Jesus as a divine intervention of the Holy Spirit, which I think is nonsense, because Jesus said that he had come to enforce the law, not to destroy it. Why make a miracle and take away from the laws of physics?
The miracle existed, in the sense that my beloved Jesus has conveyed the greatest message of love of all time: love each other and love your neighbor as yourself. Jesus has given much wisdom to anyone who has wanted to listen. Unfortunately, many do not listen and prefer to be in ignorance. Greetings with all my love. I will give way to another entity.